Hi everyone. So sorry about the lateness. Our internet dropped out just as we were about to go live. Typical, of course. So we're on my phone, and it's not a new phone, but it's not the one that fell in the bucket on Saturday, that's for sure. So I had to get a replacement. It is well, it's not brand new.
Oh, well,
it's
brand
refurbished
new.
one.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we're here. That's the main thing, and I'm going to do 5 top ways of using our gilding gum. Okay, so I'm going to show you gilding with 3Ds, embossing, stenciling, painting, and glazing. All right. So shall we get started? So come on over my shoulder. So this is our gilding gum, and we developed this so that you could actually make your gilding gum any colour you wanted, as long as it's one of our luscious powders, because you've already got loads of our luscious powders, which are amazing because you can use them for so many different things. They are a pigment powder. They've also got mica in them. They've also got quite a few other nice sparkly ingredients and a binder. So you can actually use our luscious with water, with texture paste, with gel mediums, with clay, with resin, tons of things. But now you can use it with our gilding gum to create a sort of gilding wax. Okay, so you can actually make a little pot of gorgeousness using a little pot of that, bit of gilding gum and a bit of your luscious. So let's show you how to do that. Okay, so you can actually get a kit where you get 3 colours of luscious and a gilding gum and some little pots. So look on our website, or if you've already got luscious, that's great because you're halfway there. Okay, so first things first, little pot, gilding gum and a colour. Let's go for peacock. All right, so these are little screw ones. We go for little pots because you don't be wasting loads of product, because you only need a little bit at a time. And also, the less oxygen you've got in there, the less it's going to dry up. But I've got a trick for you, because you know how gilding gum or gilding wax dries out and then that's it, you can't reconstitute it. With this, all you need to do is just add more gilding gum and it brings it back. Okay, so I'll show you that later on. Right, so we've got about 50% of gilding gum in here, and I've just put a little scoop of our peacock luscious, which is the most beautiful blue colour. It's a lovely teal colour, and I'm just going to mix in that first little scoop, and then I'm going to go for more and then mix that bit in. So just take your time mixing them in. I've put the gilding gum in first in our little pot, and then I've put the powder on top, and you just stir that in, and then you keep on going. I would say it's about 50-50 gilding gum to luscious, and all you need to do is just gently stir that in, and bit by bit it will all come together. So I've actually used quite a nice amount. You see what I mean about putting too much in? I start to spill it then. Oh, and you can see actually the other colours that we've got in that peacock. We've got a little bit of gold coming out in there. Now, this gilding gum, as you saw, was sort of like a translucent white. And when it dries, it will dry glossy. And the reason for that is I want that gloss to really show off that beautiful shine and shimmer that you get with our luscious. So the colour you see at the moment is a little bit more muted than when it's actually going to dry, because it's going to be a lot shinier and brighter, and you'll really see that blue come through. And as with a lot of our luscious, these are like duotones. We put a lot of different colours in to achieve that lovely blue. So with this one, we're snuck in a bit of gold in there. So when the light hits it, it's going to shimmer between that blue peacock and a little bit of gold as well. So you can see how that is nice and thick now, and it's almost holding its shape, but I want it a little bit more, so I'm just going to put a little bit more in and try not to spill it. I don't know. See, this is the trouble when I rush things. There we go. So that's good. And just give it a good stir, because you don't want any lumps in there, and then it's good to go. Okay, that's gorgeous, isn't it? Okay, so that's peacock. I've already done a raspberry jam, and I've also done a out of the blue. So let me just show you these colours. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. Isn't that beautiful? So you're not restricted to the colours that a manufacturer will use for creating a gilding wax. You're only restricted by what colour of luscious that you have. So I'm just going to put, I think I'm going to do some of this Miss Moneypenny. Is it Miss Moneypenny? No, it's Penny Dreadful, I beg your pardon. So I'll just put a little bit of that in there, and I'll just wipe up my mess. So I'll just mix a little bit of this.
So if you just explain to people what's going on this evening.
Okay, so if you've just joined us, we are talking about our gilding gum. All right, and we developed the gilding gum so that when you mix it with the luscious, it acts like a gilding wax, but it's not a solvent base, which is really good. And that means that instead of buying 65 different colours of gilding wax, if there ever was that many colours, you don't need to. You only buy one of the gilding gum, and then you can mix it with your luscious and create a gilding wax. And I'm going to show you my top 5 ways of using our gilding gum. So in order to make it, you can see that I'm mixing 50% of gilding gum with 50% of luscious. And our luscious, if you've not discovered it before, is a really, really popular product of ours. People absolutely adore it. Why? Because we use really good quality pigments, then we add really nice quality, good quality micas, and then we also add maybe some duotones, some different glitters. Well, not glitters actually, they're just sparkles, depending on the colours that we're creating. And you can use these powders for lots of different applications, so mixing it with your gel mediums, with your texture paste, with your resin, it just looks amazing. And you can see here I've done a few already: raspberry jam, out of the blue, peacock, and this one is Penny Dreadful. So the first thing I'm going to do is just show you how I use them with, let me put those over there, with on 3D. So you can see here that I've created a little mini canvas, and I've used some of my cogs, and these are molds using our fast cast resin, and this mold is one of the new ones by Finnabar, which we've got in stock at the moment, and I've attached them using our super thick Slap-It-On, and then I've given that a coat of black gesso. But what I also like to do is put on some metallic raven, black raven, which is gorgeous. You only need a tiny bit, and I love to use a black background because that really makes the luscious and the gilding gum really, really shine and reflect back, and it gives you that gorgeous intensity of colour. So I'm just going over that with the Raven Black metallic paint, and then I'll give that a little blast just to dry that off with our pew pew gun. Hi everyone who's come online tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
You might need to just explain why we're on the phone again as well.
Okay, so if you're wondering why we're on the phone, just as we're about to go live, our internet dropped out. So this is why we're on the phone. But I like the fact that it's really nice and close up. So thanks very much, Alfie. So with this, you can actually use your finger or you can use a brush. So you can just pop it on like you normally would using your fingers and just like you would with a normal gilding wax. But I do like to use a brush sometimes because then I've got a little bit more control, and this is quite a small piece, so I'm going to just move that around a little bit because I've got it in the holes. There we go. And I'm using a little bit of I never said Money Penny again, but it's Penny Dreadful. Sorry, my hand's in the way. So let me get this in some of the background there. And I can get some in the nooks and crannies as well. So I'm just using just a normal gold line brush for this. And I'm starting off with that Penny Dreadful. So I just want a little bit. So you can see it's nice and thick at the moment, which is just perfect to use as a gilding wax. And the great thing about this is that you don't have to polish it afterwards, and also when it's dry it's permanent as well, so you're not going to be able to take it off afterwards. Okay, so I've got a little bit of Penny Dreadful on. I think I'll go for some of this lovely dark navy, and again I only want a tight, see I'm only using a tiny weeny bit, and that's because the pigments in our lushes are really nice, high quality, and we put loads in so that you get this gorgeous deep look to it. So again, just a little bit over here. Oh wow, that works so well, doesn't it, on that blue? That's called In the Navy, that one. Let's have a tiny weeny drop of this down here. I think that might be a bit much, but let's just work that in. And then I'm going to come to, let's put a little bit of our raspberry jam in now. So let's get a little bit of this. See how thick I've mixed this one? So it really, really gives you an intense colour. Okay, so let's just touch a few areas up here because I want that mix of colour. I don't want a solid colour anywhere. And let's just break up that In the Navy over there. And then I want to give that a little bit of colour on here, so the more you put on, obviously the more intense the colour. So I think I'll do the lid of that, or the stopper, in that colour. And I'm liking these up here, these are looking nice, but I'm not too happy with what's going on down here. And you just keep layering them up until you're happy with the result. So I haven't gone for any peacock yet, so let's have a little bit of peacock. That's far too much. Let's just take that off and begin again. Okay, so let's have just a touch here and there. And let's just pull in that little apothecary bottle there. And a little bit over the top, and that dulls down that copper, which is nice. Let's have a little bit over there, and even a little bit on that bottle where we've got quite a dark. There we go. Now we can see that that lighter teal is breaking up that blue in that corner. That's better, isn't it? And then I'll have a little bit up there. There's hardly any on my brush now, which is good. I can hear your tummy. You still hungry?
No, I don't think so.
We've just had our tea. Shepherd's pie. I think that's getting there. I just want a little bit more of that gorgeous sort of, it's like a rose copper. It's absolutely delicious. So I think we need just a hint round here just to balance it off a bit. Yeah, I think that's good. So you can see how just with those 4 colours you can get a really lovely result with that. And I probably would carry on faffing around with this for quite some time until I have it. That's quite nice. But I'll move on before you get too bored. There we go. So can you see how the light catches that? And yeah, it does stay permanent once it's dry. And how long till it's fully dry? Well, it's going to be touch dry. It's, you know, it's touch dry now. So I said fully dry and hardened off, I would say about half an hour. Yeah, so it acts as a protective layer as well. So you don't have to buff it or anything like that, because it's not made like a traditional gilding wax. We're just achieving something that looks like a gilding wax, but it gives you added benefits of not coming off or not being a solvent or anything like that. Okay, so that's my first embossing, 3D embossing. Just going to clean my brush. Clean your brush just in water, but don't hang about because you don't want it to harden off. So for those people who've just arrived, I will just show you again what we've actually made here. So I'll go for, let's go for a grungy gold. Oh, we see that's got quite a nice sparkle in it. So this is our Gilding Gum, and you put it into a little pot. You can buy these from us, or if you've got any sort of little pots that you use that you haven't used for going away, you can use these. But I use the smallest pot possible because you want to reduce the amount of air that's in it. Okay, because the more air it is, the more it will oxidize. But we have a little trick for you, and that's if it does dry out and get a bit thickened, you can in fact just add some more of the Gilding Gum, and that will loosen it off and bring it back. Unless of course there's virtually none left in the jar at all. It needs something to work with. So the colour that I'm mixing here is grungy gold. Can you see we've actually got not just colour in there, but we've got those really tiny gold particles. And this is such a beautiful colour, and depending on what type of light hits it, depends on what sort of colour you're going to get reflected back, which is just really awesome. Okay, there we go. So this I've done a lot thicker, but this you can see is a lot softer, a lot thinner, like that. So this would be good for using with a brush and doing on something flat, which is what I'm going to do now. So the next one is using it on embossing. So let me just move these over a little bit. Let's just That's distracting. So let's just bring these in here. There we go. And let me just get my brush. My favourite brush at the moment. Just dry that off, because you don't really want a sopping wet brush for this. Dry brush is better. Okay, so this is just embossed card. It's an old embossing folder that we had with one of our magazines. Don't ask me which one. I can't quite remember. I think it might have been 1 or 2. Number 1 or 2 magazine, that is. So I'm just going to, wow, look at that colour. I'm just going to put this as like a background colour. And this is the Gringy Gold that I've just mixed up, and I've mixed it up quite thin or sloppy, just to give us a sort of background coverage there. And then what should we do next? Let's do a bit of copper. Okay, so this is a lot thicker, as you can see, but I'm just taking some there. And I'm just using a dry brush, or as dry as I could get it, and I'm just holding it quite at the top of the brush there, so that it's quite loose in my hand, just so that it's quite randomly going over the surface here. I haven't quite decided what colours I'm going to do, but already that's looking a bit gorgeous, isn't it? And you wouldn't think that Gringy Gold, which is quite a greeny colour, would look so good with that copper. Look at that, it's just delicious, isn't it? Oh, you see, bit of crafting, nothing like it, is there? And then let's just do this corner in here with a little bit. And you can see that there was hardly any on my brush at all. And I don't need to clean my brush in between, because there's none left. Right, so shall we stick with still doing some warm colours? Let's have a tiny touch of this raspberry jam. Have I got any on there? Okay, maybe a little bit. So let's have a little bit down here. And again, I'm just using my brush vertically, you can see, and just tickling it. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? It gives it a little bit of a pop of colour there. And let's just colour in that blank area up there. And I think let's go with the teal. So again, I'm just taking a little bit. See, there's hardly any on my brush there, because you can always put more on. Okay, so now this is going to be like my top colour. So I'm doing this really gently. Oops. I'm just catching little areas. Oh, it's fab, doesn't it? Now, if you wanted to just bring that down a little bit so that it's not quite as thick, so it'll be easier to work with, all you need to do is just put a bit more of your gilding gum in, and then just give it a stir. And this is how you sort of reconstitute if yours has been left for a few weeks and it's gone a little bit dry in your pot. You just need to add in some more of the gilding gum and just give it a really, really good mix Obviously, if there's none left in the pot and it's just a scraping around the edge, then it's probably not going to be saved. You need to actually have something to work with. But the great thing is that you've already got your luscious, and all you need to buy is just your gilding gum. So you can find that on IndigoBlu.com. And whereabouts, Alfie, is it on the website? Do we know? What's it under? Is it under accessories or is it under luscious?
Probably. If you just search, best way is to search for Gilding Gum.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit softer now, so it's easier to pick up on a brush, and I don't want to put too much on, but I do want it to be more dominant. There we go. Again, just really tickling the surface. Yeah, and I think step away from the tag, Kay. Yeah, okay, just leave that alone. Yes, I do talk to myself quite a lot in the studio, but look at that, it's like gorgeous. The shine on that is just lovely. Hi Anne, hi Joe, hi Astrid. So we're playing with Gilding Gum. Oh, love that. Okay, so that's embossing. Right, so now with some stenciling. So let me just put these to one side. Let's put that up there. Oh, you know, I found this that I'd been playing with the other day, and you can add some gilding to these as well. So this is one of our little figures that we do in a grey board, and I just thought a little bit of the gilding wax round the edge and into the figure a little bit would look fab. Yeah, that's good. Nice. Okay, right, let's get some stenciling. How about this one? How about this William Morris number 2? And about there. So these are nice and thick, but they may not be a good consistency. See, that was quite stiff, which is great for your 3D work, but I probably want it a little bit softer to do some stenciling. So all you have to do is just add a little bit more of your gilding gum and just work that in. So you can see that the gilding gun is white, but when this dries on your piece of work, the gilding gum goes clear, and that means that all that gorgeous luscious colour is really going to shine through. And the gilding gum has a gloss base to it. It's not a really high gloss, but it is a really nice glossy finish to it. So that's going to really enhance those gorgeous luscious colours. And the shine as well.
Teresa's asked, does adding more gum make the colour lighter at all?
Not really, because the pigments that we use actually are so strong that it's not going to make any difference. It's like when we're watering down our paint, because we have it so concentrated, it's not going to really have any effect at all. So there you go. So that's a better consistency for stenciling. And let's just, that one seems okay and that one seems okay. Let me just give that Penny Dreadful a bit of a stir as well. I notice I only mixed up a tiny bit of this just to be quick, but it's worth mixing up a full pot, because then it won't oxidize and in the pot, which is why I've gone for the smallest pot possible. Okay, so now that we've got it a little bit thinner, now you can actually quite happily stencil with it. So what colour should I do? Let's go with the strawberry jam. Let's have a little bit of this. It is raspberry jam, you're quite right, sorry. Let's have a bit of that on here. So let's go for a little bit of, no, let's go for the dark in the navy. Let's put a bit here, let's finish off that bit up there. Did I? Or did I move the whole thing? Hopefully I moved the whole thing rather than the stencil. I'm going to put a little bit more of this on. And then teal all over it. Well, it's peacock actually, over all the rest of it. So let's just fill in all those bits here and there. Of course, you don't have to do multiple colours. You can just go over the whole thing in one colour. But I like to make my life difficult and a bit of a challenge. And it's always a surprise when I take it off. So. And I like the way the colours mix as well, so that's always quite nice. I'm just going to get a tiny bit more of that raspberry jam on here. I think that's it. I think we've got all the bits. Okay, let's hope that I didn't move too much. Oh, that's fab. Right, that's going to go straight into a bucket of water. My stencil, that is. Not this. Oh, wow. That's lovely. And it has got some depth as well. It has got a bit of 3D element to it, which is gorgeous. Look at that. And when that dries, that's going to be really lovely. Excellent. Love that. So that's the Morris number 2 stencil as well. Excellent. Right, okay, where shall I put that? Over here. I'll have a look at that later, because that's thicker, so that's going to take a little bit longer to dry, maybe 10 minutes or so. Okay, so the other thing you can do with it is you can actually paint with these as well. So let me bring in my paint mat, and why use these instead of normal Luscious, because these are going to be a permanent hard to shift colour. They also have got like a, as I've said before, a gloss base with the Gilding Gun. Look at the stain I'm covered in it. So I'm just going to put down a little bit of Gilding Gum, and then I'm going to take the colour. So I'm going to take just a tiny bit of that raspberry jam. Let's put it here, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of that Gilding Gum. Okay, there we go. And so it's like the glossiness of an oil, but without all the hassle of it. Not that oil's a hassle, it's just different. Okay, so I've just picked up this out of my box, and let's just see how you can paint with this. And because I put loads of Gilding Gum on this, the paint is, is almost translucent.
So can you add water as well?
You can add water actually to this. Let me just clean my brush. Let me just bring in a bit of that Penny Dreadful. So this is just with water added, so you can see that I'm thinning it down this time with water. I'm going to go over the top there just to give that an extra layer of colour. And then, as I say, when this dries, this is going to have like a gloss finish to it. There we go. See that catch the light? That is gorgeous. That is lovely. So instead of mixing just your luscious with water, mixing it with the Gilding Gum will give it that permanence. Whereas when you mix it with water, you can go back in and move it again. But with the Gilding Gum, you can't. Once it's dry, that's it. It's permanent. And also, our extra gloss is going to really help with that pigment shine and the shine of the mica as well.
Do you know which stamp set the flowers from?
This is
it squiggly? One of the squiggly ones.
I thought it was one of the Fleurs ones. Could be 1, 2, 3 or 4.
Don't know.
Yeah, if you look on the website for Fleurs, I think you'll find it. I don't think... Well, it might be Squiggly Flowers. I use it so often, this. I just found this in my tub of, you know, stamped images that I haven't actually used, that I may have used for demos and stuff. So it wasn't with its normal. I didn't just stamp it tonight. So that's gorgeous, isn't it? That's lovely. And I think if you want it a bit thicker, you just add a bit more of your luscious Gilding Gum mix. You are making yet?
Yeah. Can you paint it on MDF, and would you have to prime the MDF first?
Yes, you can paint it on MDF, and I always say prime the MDF first, because it's a lot safer once it's been primed, and also it stops anything that you put on top of the MDF from just being sucked in like a sponge, because it will act like that. So yeah, prime it first, and then you can paint over the top. So yeah, that's going to look really lovely.
Apparently it is from Squiggly Flowers.
Oh, there you go. Well done. Thank you. You knew better than me, Alfie. Okay, so what have we done here? We have mixed our Gilding Gum with the Luscious, and this happens to be no it's not, it's raspberry jam. But instead of making it nice and thick like we would for our gilding wax, we've actually thinned it down and made it a lot thinner so that we can actually pick it up with a paintbrush. And why have we done that? Because it makes it a permanent paint, whereas if you just use the Luscious with water, it's not actually permanent. Whereas this is, and this will give you a glossy finish as well, because once the Gilding Gum is dry, it will dry clear and glossy, so it will stay nice and glossy for the Luscious that you're using here. And the colour that I'm using now is Penny Dreadful.
Louise has asked, to prime the MDF, would you use gesso?
Yes, definitely. And if you're using this over the top, I would suggest black gesso, because that's really going to show off the luscious. See how this is on a black background, and yet it's far more luster than this, which is on a white background. Yeah. Okay, so that is my number 4. Gosh, already. And the final one is super easy. Okay, the final one is just making a glaze, and we've virtually already done it here, because all you do is take one of your colours or multiple colours, like say this one. Let me just wash my brush. Say this peacock, and just mix it in with some of your gilding gum, but this time you do it really thin. So you mix quite a lot of gilding gum, and this amount, because we've got a lot of gilding gum and very little of the luscious, this is going to now affect the amount of pigment, so you'll be left with like a glaze, like a see-through transparent glaze. And this will protect the surface of whatever it is that you're doing, like a varnish, but it will also impart a bit of colour. So let me see whether this is thin enough. Yeah, that's thin enough. So I'm leaving a little bit of colour behind, but I'm also varnishing it as well. So there's not that much colour coming off. Well, there is. Maybe I should have put some more on, but no, I'm quite happy with that, because I've used peacock on the piece already. And this is going to give it a glaze. So if you just wanted to add a shiny glaze to your work to make it permanent, then this is the way to do it. So I'm going all over the background there. And you can put multiple layers on as well to enhance that glossiness. It's not a high gloss like the super thick Slap-It-On, but it is definitely a gloss. So there you can see that you've got that overall sort of shimmer of teal. That's gorgeous. So that's number 5. So we did 3D gilding, which was this one. Then number 2 was the embossing, which is gorgeous. Then we did stenciling, which is drying nicely here, but it's still very wet because it's quite thick, which is beautiful. I love that. Thanks for your lovely comments, Mike. And then we've done painting. See, it really does make that luscious shine, doesn't it? It's really lovely. And then we did the glaze over the whole of that. So that's got a nice teal glaze to it. So there you have it, my top 5 uses for gilding gum. Ta-da! So it's a quick one tonight, so thank you so much for joining us. We'll be at Doncaster this weekend, Doncaster Racecourse, so if you're seeing us, thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. If you're on if you're on YouTube, if you could give us a thumbs up, that would be great.
They won't be, because it's on Facebook Live at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But I will copy this onto YouTube.
But if you can give us a like and a share, that would be great. Thank you so much. And any reviews on our websites, we're always really, really happy for you to do those. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye for now. Ta-ra.